Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I am back in one piece, more or less, from my trip to CES in Las Vegas, Nevada. This, of course, is the big annual consumer electronics show. I've attended 7 or 8 of these shows over the last decade, and what I thought I would do in this video is give you some observations about the difficulties on the media side covering this show, especially when you don't have a lot of resources. So when we go out to CES, it is a backpack, me and my producer, and that is it. So we don't have a lot of folks on the ground directing us to where we need to go. So a lot of the coverage is mostly me finding stuff that I think you all might find of interest. And if you are a startup or know someone who is, and you want to maximize media coverage at CES, I thought I would briefly talk about some tips that I have for getting my attention, but also the attention of other members of the media, both large and small. And remember, if you get a lot of small eyes on your product, you might get a lot of viewers, because typically even smaller channels like mine do get a lot of extra views when there's a big media event like CES. Let's get to it. Now, if you're a member of the media covering CES, some of the most important events to attend are not on the show floor. One of the big ones that I like to go to is called CES Unveiled. Now, typically, the CES show begins on a Tuesday, and CES Unveiled happens on a Sunday night. So typically, I fly in the morning or early afternoon, get my stuff unpacked, take a shower, and then we head right down to this event, which usually takes place at Mandalay Bay. And what they do at CES Unveiled is they line up usually over 100 different companies at little tables right next to each other. And the media kind of flocks over to this as a big group because we can get a lot done in a very short period of time. So over the last 2 visits to CES, I was able to do an entire dispatch video just from this event alone. Now, there are a couple of other similar events to CES Unveiled that are just as important. The big one for me is called Pepcom. This usually happens the night after CES Unveiled, basically the night before the show starts. And this event has a lot of high-quality companies at it. So the media that may not go to CES Unveiled will likely go to Pepcom because the quality of what they'll find there is usually better. In fact, a lot of companies, big ones, that don't have a proper exhibit on the floor will often go to Pepcom. And for a small outlet like mine, that's often the only time I'll be able to interface with them. So Pepcom is another event that I do not miss. It is a great opportunity to network, but also find great things to report home about. There's another event that happens the following day called Showstoppers, and this is a show that is a lot like the other two in that you've got a bunch of companies in one room. Typically, Showstoppers has less companies exhibiting at it, so you'll have a better opportunity perhaps to be seen by more media. And I can tell you, as a member of the media, the food is usually really good at Showstoppers. So these are the 3 that I don't like to miss when I am heading out to CES. Again, because I can get a lot done, I can find a lot of things to report on, and it's often a great way for me to discover products that I did not know about. Now, I do allocate some time to wander the show floor at CES, but unfortunately that activity has proven less and less fruitful as the years have gone on, insofar as finding those hidden gems of the show. When I first started going about a decade ago, smart home products were all brand new. Even a smart plug was interesting to the audience. Now we've seen all that stuff before, so finding new and interesting things is getting harder and harder. And it's also difficult because the maps that they provide us of the show are pretty much useless insofar as finding what is going to be at a particular booth. So as I look at the official CES app here, I can see that gaming and metaverse is in this section here, but I have no idea what companies are exhibiting because they have to pay to get their logo placed on the map here. And as you can see, very few companies did that. And so you have to tap into the map here to see who's going to be there. It is arduous and difficult to go and figure out where everybody is going to be at one of these shows. And a lot of times there's a company that I know is going to be at the show, but they don't really have anything new or interesting to report about. Google, for example, set up this huge exhibit outside. They had absolutely nothing new to announce. It was all the stuff that they had announced throughout the year. So just looking at the map or wandering around here just isn't proving as useful as it used to be. Now, another piece of advice for you is to get a hold of the list of all media that will be attending CES. I think you might have to buy this from the show organizers, but I think it's worth it. And I would suggest getting out press releases well in advance of the show. I typically register in the September-October timeframe. I know a lot of other media sometimes even register earlier than that. And the more we can get hit with press releases, even if we don't respond to them, the better it's going to be for our planning purposes. Let me show you a press release this year that got my attention. This one came from a French PR agency that was representing a bunch of companies from France that were going to be exhibiting together at the show. And you'll see up here, they've got the booth number where they're all going to be located, and they had a very efficient list of all of these companies and what they were doing. And this was very helpful because I could say, all right, this one's going to be at Unveiled, so I will see them at that showcase event. And this, of course, was the silent mask that did make it into my coverage. Another thing that made it into my coverage was this product called Dolphy Sonus. They were not at Unveiled or any of the other showcase events, but because I saw this press release, I knew to look for them on the show floor. And this, of course, was a product that is designed to help prevent deaths from children falling into pools. A really interesting product that I would not have known about had this release not get sent to me. So this is a good example that getting a press release out early enough that's very efficiently formatted can be very helpful for many media organizations, including small ones like this one, to make sure we add you to our coverage. And I saw a lot of stuff there that didn't have a press release that made it my way. I did look through my email afterward. And a lot of times you send out press releases and you get discouraged because nobody responds. But believe me, people that are planning a CES trip are reading everything that comes in and finding the things that are most interesting to their audiences, like I did here. So now I wanted to do a quick self-evaluation about how I felt the show went this year. We were able to get 5 pieces of content out. Again, the 4 dispatches plus the sponsored video. We also did a number of shorts from our sponsor as well. So we did crank out a lot of content, but I feel like we did leave a lot on the field because we didn't have time to get to it all, nor do we know where all the stuff was to get. So I think we probably could have pulled off another dispatch or 2. The problem, though, is that the CES show in general has not built back the buzz that it had prior to the pandemic. So the 2020 show was, I think, their biggest show yet, or among the biggest. There was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of stuff to see and talk about. This show, it was okay, but I was seeing more and more exhibits that just had screens of AI apps running as opposed to tangible products. And that's hard for me to cover. I could cover AI apps from here in the studio as opposed to flying out to Las Vegas. I really want to try to find a lot more of that stuff. I was very pleased, though, with the response that I got from all of you. And it was great to see people wanting more out of what I was able to do. And I certainly want to do that. So hopefully, if you're a startup watching, this video will be helpful in showing you what you might need to do to get our attention while we're out there. And I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about a lot of other smaller creators who are, again, very resource constrained when it comes to these shows. I think if I did another day out there, I could probably get a lot more in if we have enough to go and see. One of the challenges with Las Vegas is that you're constantly under a time crunch. The show basically runs from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. There's always an event to go to in the evening that might have some value. So your time in which you have to work on anything is very narrow. I also had issues with the Wi-Fi, as I usually do. The hotel Wi-Fi at the Excalibur was pretty bad. I had to basically copy video files onto my phone, go downstairs into the lobby and upload them over the Verizon 5G network, which was able to get my videos uploaded at about 70 megabits per second or so. Not as bad as years past, but still another thing that you had to do to get your videos up there. So what I was doing was actually uploading the videos to my iCloud account, logging into my computer from home, and then uploading everything from here over remote desktop, which did work out okay in the end. But really, you don't have a lot of time to do a lot of editing, and it's also really hard to get around. Even though things are right next to each other, there's no public transit in Las Vegas to speak of, really. So to get from the convention center area to the Venetian, where a lot of the smart home and startup stuff is, takes about an hour to wait for the bus, get on the bus, deal with traffic. So it's pretty rough to get around, and you basically have to spend a day in each location. So I think if we go back next year, I'm going to look at doing the full week, and that might be able to get us some more dispatch videos. Now, one other thing to note is that general interest in the show was not where it has been, as I mentioned. So when I uploaded my first dispatch video, that one did very well. We got that one up, I think, a day before the show started. Got about 60,000 views out of it. The rest of them were just in the 10 to 12,000 view mark. So general consumer interest, which is something that I rely on to attract viewers to my stuff, dropped like a rock after the first day of the show. Usually see a drop off, but this was a pretty substantial one. So there was not a lot of viewer interest to continue doing a lot of back-to-back dispatch videos. So hopefully, shows in the future will do better than the last two have done out in Las Vegas, at least insofar as getting the general public excited. And that, of course, will lead to more views. But bottom line is, I'll be back next year if we can get a sponsor, and I would love to hear more about what you would like to see from future dispatches down below in the comments. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Budley, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Steve Green, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.